Erika Nedwell. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Great to have you here. Why don't we just start by you telling us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, your age, where you were born.
Sure. So I am 23 years old. I was born in 1992, Christ Hospital, Jersey City, New Jersey. I currently live in Bayonne, New Jersey. I've lived there since 1996. And of course I was away for college and such, but for the most part I'm in the general Hudson County area.
All right. Now where did you go to high school?
I went to High Tech High School in North Bergen, New Jersey. Best experience ever. I love that place. It's an awesome school, awesome faculty, awesome students. Just a really great experience all around.
Is that a school you had to apply to get in?
Yes, so it's considered selective public, so it is a public school, but people have to apply and take entrance exams and such, and so, I don't know, it was just a really great experience. I don't even know like how the idea of high tech came to be, but it's very different than a lot of other schools, and you see that a lot through the students who attend. I mean, it's not your general like high school experience where you see like, the regular, jocks and this and that, and of course they've taken away sports at High Tech now, so it's literally just a bunch of like nerdy academic people who are also just really cool. So yeah, it was a great experience for me, and I loved it.
Did you have any challenges when you were in high school?
I wouldn't really say so. I had a really great high school experience. I mean, generally it's where I wouldn't say where I peaked academically, but it really did serve as an opportunity for me to get in touch with academics, and it's where I got kind of the determination to go for the harder classes, the more difficult classes, and I saw how rewarding those could be. And of course at High Tech there are opportunities for both like really great deep academic experiences and then also like more artistic and fun things, and so it was the perfect mix of those two. And sure, there were times when I had like a hard test or hard exam or things like that, but I think those experiences definitely helped me to grow. I enjoyed every minute of it. I loved studying. I loved like the hard stuff, the stuff that people usually run from. I thought that was fun. And of course, on a high school level, it's not the most difficult thing you'll ever encounter. It's something that you can get through. And so I loved those types of things in high school. I was really nerdy.
When you went into high school, you had an idea of what you wanted to be when you grew up.
I did.
Did that remain the same at the time you graduated?
Not at all. So when I went into high school, I didn't really have like much of an idea. I just knew what I was good at. So a lot of people would tell me like, you should be a lawyer, you should do this, like you should do that. And for whatever reason, I allowed those comments to kind of shape who I would be, or who I thought I would be in my career. And so I went through high school saying, I'm going to be a lawyer, like I'm going to do this, and all of these ideas I had. When I went to college, I was still interested in law, still interested in maybe practicing or at least going to law school. And then by the end of my college career, my ideas had completely changed. I realized I wanted to do something a little bit more creative, a little bit more artistic, and maybe I could do something in the legal realm as it relates to like helping people, but not necessarily just like being a lawyer in the law, in the courtroom and such. So that type of thing. But I do think I would really enjoy law. I do, but I just feel like you have to have like serious passion to commit to law school, and it's not something that I necessarily think is something I need to do.
Okay. So when did you graduate from high school?
I graduated from high school in 2010.
Okay.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about the application experience, the choosing of a college, and how you got help along the way, because I'm interested in this episode of parents and people in the community and other young people watching this episode and listening to you, Erika Nedwell, because it's a graduation season.
Right.
So talk a little bit about that experience.
Sure. So when I was preparing to go to college, it was a bit overwhelming. I mean, I applied to 10 different schools. Not necessarily because I was scared I wouldn't get in, but I just really didn't know what kind of college experience I wanted. I didn't know where I would want to be for college. And I went on a ton of different like college visits and tours and whatever else. And you sit in those meetings and you sit in those like assemblies and listen to people tell you all the great things about the school, but it's just, for me it was really just a sensation that I felt when I went to Georgetown for college in DC. And when I went to Georgetown's campus, I was sitting there and it was the same stuff they tell you about every school, you know, the regular, you know, we have this many students, this many dorms, you know, these are all the great things about it. But it was more of a feeling that I had, like in my gut. I felt like that was the place for me. I mean, there's this other thing I believe. If you go to a college on a day when it's raining, you're just not gonna feel it. So it just so happened to be perfect, like 80 degrees sunny weather when I went to visit Georgetown. And that was the case for a lot of other schools too, but I felt it. I mean, the students were great. Everyone was walking around smiling. Some of the schools I visited, people looked dismal. And so, I don't know, everything about DC was great. And also, as I said before, at the time I was really interested in law, and I just felt like DC was like the political epicenter of the world. And so I, you know, really felt like that was going to be the place for me. I was also really determined to intern at the White House. That never ended up happening. But, you know, these were just all the opportunities that I felt Georgetown would afford me. And, I mean, though I didn't take advantage of all of those things, there were so many other things that Georgetown gave me, so I loved my college experience. Yeah.
Wow, you're so right. That is the epicenter.
Yeah.
My goodness,
Yeah.
and that's a prestigious school.
It's an awesome school.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It is.
So did you have challenges in that environment?
Definitely.
Could you give an example of something that might have been a challenge?
Sure.
And how you overcame it?
Right. So, I'd say academics were challenging. I mean, not so much that I couldn't surmount the difficulty, but it was just something that I had never experienced before. I think probably at most colleges they expect you to think a little bit differently, whereas in high school you have to, you know, learn some information and regurgitate it back to the teacher on an exam, or, you know, just kind of do your basic rudimentary thinking. Whereas in college they want you to get really deep. They want you to think so deeply. It was a level that I had never reached prior to college, and there's a lot of writing involved, and I loved writing prior to college, but it was different writing. It was more, well, definitely longer. The papers were, I mean, there were some papers I had to write that were 50 pages. Like, who does that? That's a book. So I was just like, I didn't sign up for this. But I think it ended up being really rewarding in the end. I mean, it was something that I couldn't have imagined myself doing. I mean, yes, I knew I wanted to go to college, I knew this and that, but it was just a different academic experience, and it was like nothing I had experienced prior.
Mm-hmm. It's a prestigious school, and it's also an expensive school.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So talk about the methods in which allowed you to be able to afford the tuition and things like that.
Well, I will say that my parents did a lot of saving for college. I mean, I wish. I'm trying to become more financially savvy. It's difficult. But they did a lot of saving up. So they were kind of in a good position when I was going into college, and they were prepared for me to, you know, go to any school that I wanted to. But in addition to that, there were several scholarships that I received. One from the Strike Merchants, a bowling club that my mother's a part of. She bowls, and she's been a part of the Strike Merchants for as long as I can remember. And they gave anywhere from like $1,500 to $2,000 for me to go to school each year, or 3 of the 4 years. And then what else? Other than that, I received a scholarship from my high school, like a small amount, but still very helpful and so appreciated. For, I don't even remember what I got the scholarship for, but it was for something. I think probably like leadership or something. I was the student council president, class president at the time, and so yeah, they gave me a great scholarship also. Yeah.
Terrific. Was there anything besides, I mean, we're talking about academics, but what about sort of the sort of the social world, because I think adolescence is, yeah, we're growing our mind in terms of our intellect and what we are interested in terms of subjects, but we're also growing emotionally and as social beings.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So.
I mean, my social experience in college was, I mean, truly life-altering in every way. I met people that were so different than anyone I'd ever met before, because obviously, like, growing up in, you know, one particular area, you know, I had left here to go on vacations and such, but I hadn't really, like, had experiences outside of New Jersey or northern New Jersey for the most part, and so I got to meet people from all over the world. I mean, at Georgetown there were people from all over the U.S., and then there were people from, like, so many other countries, like, you can't even imagine, and it was just a great opportunity to kind of shape me socially, as you said. It kind of alters your worldview to be able to encounter people who think so differently. And I mean, yes, I was kind of set in my ways, set in the way I thought, but by the end of my, I'd say, sophomore year, I, you know, was opening up to other people's conceptions, other people's ideas. And I just feel like I was so blessed to be able to experience that. Like, I don't know, I mean, when do you get to spend 4 years, which is a pretty significant amount of time, particularly for someone who's only 23 years old, with all of these different people? And not just that there are people from everywhere, but there are just so many people that you really do get to grow in that way. And it was just amazing. I mean, I met people who I know will be my friends forever, and that's the typical college cliche, but I mean, I can't imagine my life without some of these people, and they really have shaped me. They've helped me to grow. They have challenged me to think differently and more deeply. I became more aware of, like, some of the social injustices that are going on. Obviously, you hear about them on the news and such, but college was just a really big time for me to, we would go protest all the time. We were those kids. Like, we would be down at the White House protesting. We would be, like, all over DC with, like, you know, signs, and we did marches. We did Trayvon Martin, Troy Davis. We did everything. I mean, it was an incredible experience. Those were terribly sad reasons to have to, you know, band together, but still very powerful in that way. And so, yeah, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. I mean, yeah, I also studied abroad in South Africa my junior year, first semester, and that was all the more, you know, opportunity to kind of grow. I was able to spend 6 months there.
Where? Durban?
Cape Town.
Oh, in Cape Town.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
In Cape Town, and so,
wow.
Yeah, it was. I became closer to the people that I went with from Georgetown, and then I also got to meet so many other people from other schools in the U.S. who were there studying abroad, and then I got to meet people who were natives to Cape Town, and I always say that, I know I've said that every experience has been, like, one of the best experiences, but Cape Town really changed me. Like, I feel like a different person since coming back. It altered how I look at the U.S. in relation to other countries. We got to travel throughout sub-Saharan Africa, you know, quite a few times during the trip. And I don't know, I mean, you see so much, obviously you see, like, fiscal disparities and such here, but there you can see people who are, like, living on the top of the mountain in huge mansions, and then you travel 15 minutes away and you're, you know, like, in a shanty town, right? And I hate to sound like a typical American and be like, oh, that's so sad, like, you know, what you see on the commercials and such, but it was just, like, kind of like an out-of-body experience. Like, I would go to, what were they called? The Cape Flats. This is where people lived in houses that were made out of aluminum, like any type of piece of material that they could find. And, you know, you see where the people live, you see what they do, and you see how, you know, it might be difficult for them to make their living and such, But when you meet them, because it's different than just seeing them on television or something, when you meet the people, they just have, it's all they know, first of all. So their outlook is incredible. They are really thankful to have what they have. I mean, I think a lot of times they just feel blessed for whatever reason, but at the same time, I knew that, there was so much more that could be offered to them. I mean, obviously there are a lot of issues in South Africa with the government and everything, but it was just incredible to be able to see people who were so content, regardless of their current situation.
Yeah,
I mean, truly incredible people.
Right. And I think some people think this is like not an attainable opportunity. I mean,
Right.
many universities offer
Right.
this
And that's one of the
study abroad programs.
They do. They do. And obviously the first step would be getting to college and doing that. But if the opportunity is put before you, I would definitely take it. It's something I wouldn't trade for anything. I loved going to Cape Town. I'm dying to get back. Every summer I'm like, okay, how can I do it? How can I get there? And also, like, I want to go with some of the people that I went with before, just because it'll be like that nostalgic, like, this was great experience. But yeah, I always say I felt like while I was there, I was truly living. It's different than just going through the motions, like being here and going to work or, doing your schoolwork or whatever. It was like, today, after school, we're gonna go climb a mountain. Or, today during lunch, we might go shark cage diving, or we might go on, a safari. Just like, who does that? And I will say, for everyone who's not aware of this, there are no like lions crossing the street in Cape Town. It's a city. It's developed. And when I say that we went on safaris, that was during spring break when we went to Johannesburg. It's not in Cape Town. You won't see like zebras crossing your path. Just want to put that out there.
Thank you. And people wear clothes.
Right. People wear clothing. Yes. That was. You hear all kinds of things. People were like, "Oh, did this happen? Like, did you like ride on an elephant?" Yes, I rode on an elephant, but not in Cape Town. It was when I went to, an experience, an elephant sanctuary where we did that. It's not like the everyday thing.
Yeah, I get the sense you and I could talk about this for hours,
right?
Because there are lots of different layers to how we even know or have those misconceptions,
Right.
But that's for maybe another episode, right?
Right.
But it sounds like a fantastic experience.
It was.
Now, so you get back. You're going to go into your senior year, and so now, what are you starting to thinking for your future?
Right. So I actually ended up choosing my major prior to going abroad. I was a first semester sophomore. They said you can't go abroad without a major. I said I'm not ready to choose my major. They said you have to choose one. I had taken a psychology course that semester, or maybe 2 psychology courses that semester, and I enjoyed them for the most part. So I said, why not psychology? I knew it was also going to be a challenging major, and that's how I chose my major in high school. I was like, oh, let's do what's challenging. It'll be fun. Definitely not the way to go in college unless you really feel passionate about it. It was tough. But so I was a psychology and African American studies major, or African American studies minor. And I loved African American studies. It was important to me that I immerse myself in that field just because it wasn't afforded to me prior to that. I wasn't able to tap into African American studies unless it was something my mom, taught me, or like a book that, my parents purchased for me or my grandmother purchased for me, for whatever reason, and I can guess as to why. It's not something that's taught in the Bayonne public school system. It wasn't something that was taught in my high school. It was 6 pages in the textbook during February when we covered African American studies. And to me, that's just, it doesn't get sadder than that. And at the time, I thought that, that was the wealth of knowledge. Like, I was getting everything I needed to know about African American studies. And, I would watch, the series on BT, or I would watch, Roots with my mother, or not even Roots, anything. I mean, all of the Cicely Tyson movies and Miss Jane Pittman, all of those. And, you know, I was getting a knowledge about African American history, but it wasn't as deep as I wanted it to be, and I didn't realize that until I got to Georgetown and I started taking African American Studies courses, and I just knew that there was so much more I had to learn. And I felt like I was doing myself a disservice by not, so I chose to minor in that. And I would say that was more significant to me than my psychology, but I mean, either way, I have both degrees, and they're both valued.
What are you doing right now?
So
When did you graduate from college?
2014. So
okay,
a year
last
ago.
year. Okay.
Mhm.
So what are you doing now?
So I work for an event production firm, actually. So this is what I said when I said I wanted to do something a little bit more creative, and I was actually the president of the Black Student Alliance during my senior year at Georgetown, and we got to put on a lot of events. And I loved it. I mean, I loved doing the background work, budgeting, the planning, arranging for entertainment, or I mean, whoever, renting stuff, vendors, catering and such. And that was just something that I happened to like. And it was a hobby for me at the time. But I said, you know, why not? Why isn't this possible? Why couldn't I do this professionally? And not that I think that this is something I'll do forever, but I really am enjoying it. I mean, we get to put on all kinds of things. We do weddings, we do birthday parties, we do engagement parties, we do corporate events and such. So it's been really fun for me. I'm a project manager, that's my current title, so it's a lot of the same project management that people would be doing at any other firm. Some of the people who work on my team used to work for investment banks and do project management there. So it's similar work. You're, you know, kind of connecting all different pieces and making things come together ultimately, but it's also artistic and creative. You get to do decor and event design. You get to source entertainment and stuff. I've gotten to meet so many cool people in that way, and so it's been a lot of fun. I really am enjoying it. I intend to go back to grad school, so I'm currently studying for the GRE, and I could potentially go back to law school, so I'll be studying for the LSAT also, but I'm really enjoying what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. And you're thinking about staying in
Local.
the New York area for grad school, or are you looking at abroad for grad school? Like Oxford or something?
Exactly, the one. Yeah.
Really? I could see that.
So I've been thinking about Oxford for about 2 years. So I've considered Oxford. I've also considered other schools on the East Coast. I can't really say anything for sure because I haven't thought about it that much. I just want to get through the entrance exam, and then I'll start looking at the schools where I'll apply.
All right.
Yeah.
Finish this sentence for me. I am a successful black woman because...
I am a successful black woman because, I mean, I'm going to say God. I mean, I feel like before, I just don't even know. So many different things happen in people's lives, and there are so many things that could shape someone's life, but I feel like there's always been a constant in my life pushing me in a certain direction. It's like a force, and I know it to be God, and I feel like he's had a stronghold on my life before I even knew who he was, and so I'd say that. And then also my family. I have really, really dedicated parents, incredible parents who want nothing more than to see me succeed, and I mean that's also a blessing. My dad's a severe workaholic. Like sometimes I'm just like, what is wrong with you? And my mom is just like one of the most determined women I know, and I mean once she sets her mind to something, it's like there's no way it's not going to happen. So I mean that's definitely been a great influence on my life also, and just my family in general. They're incredibly loving people. And yeah, I'm so appreciative of everyone.
Okay, all right. I mean, in your story, you've identified quite a lot of what I call protective factors that help someone with innate intelligence and such a delightful personality and spirit. Like that helps all of that to be realized.
Right.
So you've listed a lot of these: your parents, your spiritual base,
Right.
the supports in the community,
Right.
all those kinds of good things. So I so much appreciate that, because I think, most people don't expect a young African American woman from this zip code to achieve the kinds of things you have and to see the world the way you have. So I appreciate so much you sharing this story with us.
you, of course.
And again, I might get you in here for a part 2. Now, graduation season's coming up, and there are young people. There are 2 kinds of young people, I think, I want you to give a couple statements to. One is the young person who's struggling, that doesn't feel connected or have hope.
Right.
If you could you frame a couple of sentences for a young person like that?
Sure.
And then the other is for the kid who's going to walk across the stage
Right.
in a few weeks. And what sort of message of inspiration do you want to give them?
Okay, so I'll start with the student who's kind of struggling. I'd say I understand. I mean, not everyone is at this rate. The only thing that we're kind of obligated to do, or the only thing that someone who might be around 17 or 18 years old is obligated to do is school, maybe helping out around the house or family things. And it's just like, to me, whatever you're going to do, set your mind to it. Set your mind to do it to the best of your ability. And I'd say make sure you're on the right path. And I mean, it's difficult to say that because people who are on the wrong path are just going to do that. And if you're on the wrong path, I'm not saying set your mind to being really good on the wrong path. No. I would say to look at the people who are really doing great things for their communities, for, the global community. I don't know. I just think it's so much more important to do and be something valuable for others. And, don't always focus on yourself. Don't always focus on you getting money or, I don't know, whatever it might be. I think that it's just important to focus on doing the good work, And so I would say, I don't know, I feel like it's almost difficult because someone who doesn't see it that way wouldn't necessarily agree, but I don't know, I would just say focus on getting on the right path. Find someone who can help you. Just reach out to people who are inspirations to you, and there's no one who's not going to be willing to help if you really sincerely show them your heart and show them your desire to do better, to do good. And then for the student who's about to walk across the stage, congratulations, first of all. You're about to embark upon an incredible journey, whether you're going to college or not. I definitely recommend college, obviously. As I've said before, I can't imagine what I would be doing without it. Can't imagine who I would be without my college experience. So you're going to have an awesome time. There's people always ask, like, what do you do to prepare? I don't really think there's any preparation that you can do. You go, you purchase your books, you apply for your classes, or you sign up for your classes, and then you just go and you set your mind to do it and you do it. There's no preparation. You're probably going to struggle. Everyone will. What would our lives be if we didn't struggle a little bit, right? But just allow yourself to be shaped by your college experience. Allow yourself to be shaped if you're going into the military, if you're going straight to work, whatever it is, allow it to really influence your life. And just be open to the new experience. I think there's nothing better.